Hey, it's Jim Gallagher Jr., and it's the Only One Shot Golf Podcast. Good to be back with you. Been a little bit busy with grandbabies. I had two granddaughters born in the last couple weeks. We had Lily and Ruth. Charlotte, my daughter Kathleen's little girl, so she has a son and a girl. So that's our first granddaughter, and then my son Thomas had baby Ruthie, Laura Ruth Gallagher. So two back-to-back granddaughters. Been an exciting time for us, so for the Gallagher family. But today is episode 7 of season 9, and we've got three guys going to join us. They're part of the Ole Miss Rebels men's golf team, #1 team in the country. Phenomenal year so far. Chris Malloy is the head coach there. He was a graduate in 2001 of the Ole Miss school there in Oxford, and 2 NCAA appearances. He helped the team, the Rebels, get to 2 NCAA, so it's kind of cool to see him back at his alma mater. But before that, he was the assistant at Florida State under Trey Jones, who does an incredible job there, always one of the top programs in the country. Actually coached Brooks Koepka for 4 years, I think, when he was there. So fun to hear some stories about Brooks. We've had Chris on the podcast before, but after he was at Florida State, he went over to South Florida to become the head coach there, did a great job there, and really got their program back and going. And, of course, headed up to Oxford, where he's in his 11th season, and he has totally revitalized this program. As I mentioned, #1 team in the country, 7 straight, I believe, NCAA regional appearances, multiple NCAA appearances, 10 team wins, 22 individual wins, including an NCAA individual champion in Braden Thornberry a few years ago. Took him a little while, but he got his card this past season, as did Jackson Suber, who was part of the Rebels team the last few years. 2 great players. Jackson's gotten off to a great start. The 6th place finish at Sony, miscut in a 56. So good start for him. Braden had the same start, but the Rebels, as I said, 3 second-place finishes, 2 wins, and averaging just 24 under par, almost 25 under par per tournament. Just came back from Puerto Rico. So we're going to hear from Chris and what he's building there in Oxford. So while we got a moment, we're going to get Chris on the line. Well, I promised you Chris Malloy, and I've got him. Chris, I appreciate you spending some time with us. #1 team in the country. How cool is that?
Man, it has a nice ring to it for sure.
Man, you've done a heck of a job, and we've had you on the podcast before, and in your entry we went through. It's too long to talk about all the accomplishments you've done and have accomplished there while you've been at Ole Miss. But, man, your team's been playing so well. 3 seconds, a couple wins, just came back from Puerto Rico. Tell us about the week. It started off a little rough with the guys were a little bit sick, but tell us about the week and kind of your assessment of how things went in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, it was a whirlwind of a week, I think, to say the least. And we had some guys that were very much under the weather, you'd say, before we left. And, we contemplated even going, for a minute there. And, but, they rebounded. We got down there, got some rest, got some vitamin D and settled in. And they played, great first day. We didn't really have our best stuff, I think, between all 5 guys, over the last 2 days. But Jim, man, they did everything you wanted to see as a coach, and they competed their tails off. They hung in there, whether they had a bad hole, a bad break, whatever. They did an unbelievable job of, again, just being tough and ended up second place, beat out some really good teams. And no, I was really proud of their effort. Certainly you go into it, you get so result oriented, we all do. And you want to win. I know they wanted to win. They're disappointed not to win, but listen, our goal is, what I try to tell them each week and each time out is put yourself in contention in that final round, and preferably be in that final pairing in that final round, and let the chips fall where they fall. And you're not going to win every time, and whether that's you not playing your best, or whether that's you playing great and your opponent having a incredible week. And unfortunately, we caught Purdue, got caught in that buzzsaw with them. I had an opportunity to play with them all 3 rounds, and man, I was really impressed with Sapp's team. They were tough. They put it all together. It was actually fun to watch.
Yeah, that's
even though we didn't win, it was cool to watch.
That's got to be hard because, you all got the same weather. We've had crappy weather here in Mississippi. I know you've looked at the numbers, but with my Tennessee math, which could be off, you're averaging like 24, 25 under at tournament. You shot 33 under, and Purdue beat you. I mean, it's hard to do anything. Both these teams coming out of the bad weather, and they shoot those kind of scores. College golf is nothing like it was when we played, or at least when I played, with the numbers these kids are shooting.
No, and Jim, listen, we played lift, clean, and place. The course was wet, but when I'm telling you the wind was pumping through there,
yeah.
I mean, I'm talking, like windstorms, 30 mile an hour winds at times, throughout all 3 days. The holes were playing long. That first hole, which, I've seen it, it's a little bit drier and not as much wind. I've seen it, driver wedge, and, these guys are hitting driver hybrids, driver.
Wow.
I'd say more people hit 4 and 5 irons in the number one than any other club. So, yeah, I mean, the scoring was great, but we were kind of joking. I think every team may start practicing off simulators and indoors after watching Purdue.
Yeah, well, so that's the thing. I mean, it's obviously, but then you got to get on the grass, and now you're playing 30-mile-an-hour winds. I don't care how many balls you hit inside. Like growing up in Indiana, we'd hit into a net. That's all great. But when you actually got to put a score on the scorecard to shoot these kind of numbers, that just shows you how good the players are. And you talked about not being resort oriented, but it's true. I mean, I think that's such a big key. Cohen Trolio did a podcast with Burkowski and Brentley Romine, and he mentioned that. That's one of the things Cohen said about you. You don't get so clogged up in results, but when you want to get yourself in contention, your team's been there. I don't know if there's a secret or a factor, but your teams have gotten better and better. But what's some of the keys that have led to this team being number one in the last couple of years? Just keep improving.
Oh, I just think it's the players. Listen, great players, make me look like a decent coach. And we have guys that are, and you mentioned it, there's so many good players out there nowadays, Jim. I mean, like everyone's good. Everyone that stepped foot on that property this week is good, and every single week. But I think we do a really good job of recruiting guys that want to be coached. And a lot of times that's not the 5-star blue chip guy. And there's no disrespect. It's just, we want the guys in here that are that combination of a good player that we believe in, that we believe their golf game translates, and then that want to be coached. And if you look at this group of guys, they're incredible. They're as coachable as 1 through 5 as I've ever had, and we've had some good teams. And we've had some real coachable guys. This is the most coachable group of players that we've ever had, and again, they're really good. They want to get better, and they care about each other. They're competitive. They want to beat each other's brains in, but it's been fun.
And I think, obviously, Cohen Trolio coming back, his brother Collins, you've had him for a year, and I love both those boys. They're like my own, but he's been a big part of the factor as well. And it's amazing the change in atmosphere and just a different, like you said, some kind of a different change for him. And he's back to playing the way we know how Cohen Trolio plays. He's been a big part of that as well.
Yeah, we knew that right out of the gates if we could add that piece, and then ultimately when we got that commitment from him this summer, I thought we were going to be good, but I knew that we could be among the best teams in the country, and that was probably our missing piece. And he's been great. You talk about coachable. He fits that mold, and he just wanted to come in and get better and embrace a new environment, be around these guys. And he had a lot of familiarity with the guys that we have on our team. That helped, and kind of being back in the state. And, there was a lot of comfort level in him choosing to get back over here. So I think all of that combined was the perfect recipe.
Yeah, and his brother Collins, and he missed his brother. I mean, that's tough.
Yep.
And they've been together since, I remember both of them in diapers watching me try to hit the ball. And what's it like coaching brothers? Now, you've coached Brooks Koepka, and then you had his brother when you were at South Florida, but Brooks at Florida State. What's it like having two brothers on the team? That's got to be kind of a cool change.
Oh, it's really cool, and it's cool to watch them interact, and watching them try to find that balance has been another cool thing, right? I mean, they're close. They'll both tell you they're best friends, but they also didn't want to live together. They wanted to have a little bit of separation.
Yeah.
That if you look at them, they spend every day together, and they probably spend as much time over at each other's houses as so they probably might as well live together. But them trying to find that balance has been a really cool thing to watch. We wanted to recruit them separately.
Mm-hmm.
When we went down to speak with, but listen, before we ever made the first phone call, when we were able to talk to Cohen, we had a conversation with Collins
Mm-hmm.
and just said, hey, listen, we'd love to call Cohen, but do you want to play on the same team as your brother? And if not, if the answer is anything other than absolutely, then we won't go in that direction. We had recruited Collins here separately, from his brother, and he just laughed at us, which we expected. But he said, no, absolutely, it's my best friend. I want to win a national championship with my brother. That'd be a dream come true. So, that part was easy. But them, they're totally separate.
Totally different.
Different individuals.
Totally
it's just
different.
Not even
close.
Their golf games are different.
Yep.
Their approach is different. Their style is different. Everything is just. I'm not going to say opposite, but they're just very different. And you brought up Chase and Brooks. It was the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're totally different personalities, different builds, different golf games, different everything. So I think when you look at things like that, it's pretty cool, and just to figure out what makes each of those players tick individually.
Yeah, and I think one thing Cohen's always told me. At least your style is, it's not my way or the highway. You have to go individually. Every kid's different. You've been doing it 11th season now. There, multiple seasons. You've been doing this a long time. It's like raising kids. They're all different, and you've got to handle them different. You got to speak to them different. And you can't just have one way. And I think, and even coaching's changed so much, and that. Now with NIL, you got next year roster limits. That's going to be crazy. Our friend Brennan Webb at Tennessee has so many kids. He's got to, limit it down to 7 in the SEC, 8 everywhere. Coaching's changed. The kids haven't changed. It's just the way everything's, some of the challenges now for you guys. And that's going to be a big part of it. There's a lot of challenges out there. But somehow you've kept the chemistry, and I think that's the key for your team, is that team chemistry that's becoming natural. It's not like forced.
No, and you're right. You can't force it. And listen, I'm not pulling any rocket science, out and doing anything that a lot of other coaches aren't doing now. A lot of people say, I was laughing with Jim Douglas this week. We were down in Puerto Rico, and I've had so many people ask me over the last couple of months, since we've been number one, hey, so what are you doing differently? And I just laugh. I'm like, I'm not. I just feel we just happen to have some really, really good players that are bought in and that are playing very good golf right now. And but with the changes, as you mentioned, I get the question a lot. People say, do you like the transfer portal? I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Fundamentally, it's not what I signed up for. It's not why I got into college coaching, but it doesn't matter what I think, and talk to Lane Kiffin about this a lot, and he feels the same way, right? He's like, okay, it doesn't matter how I feel. We just have to be able to embrace this new environment, and certainly they've done a good job with it, and I think we've done a good job with it. We've embraced it. The schools that try to fight it, I think they're going to be the ones that struggle the most. And again, it's the hand that we've all been dealt, and we'll try to do the best in that environment. And certainly we've benefited from that, so far, and we'll continue to do that.
I think there's a couple things, and you can tell me, this is what I look at it. There's a couple ways of looking at it. You, as a coach, if you get them for 4 years, you can kind of mold them for that 4 years, and you've got time to coach them. That may go away with kids transferring, although the reverse of that, now you've only got 7, 8 people. Maybe you are able to coach those guys a little bit more than if you had 10, 12 people on the team. That's one way of looking at it, and it's what you've dealt with. The kids know that, but I think they're going to go, and I always tell kids, this is one of the things, and I know all you coaches do it, is I told the boys that, Collins and Cohen, I never really got involved where they wanted to go. I just said, I want you to go where if you had to sit at home or you got hurt, that you'd be happy. And I think if it gets close to schools, if you can get to that point, I think you're in pretty good shape because obviously, I mean, Collins loves Oxford. Cohen's loving it, changing in there. You've got to go where you're going to be happy. And you don't always know that, but that's one of the factors when it gets down to it. It's like, where do you think I would be if I don't get to go? Will I love being on campus or not? Don't you think that's a part of the equation when these kids are making those decisions?
Oh, I think it's huge. And I think that's why we're on the good side of things. And I know people sit there and they say, well, you're biased. You went to school at Ole Miss. You played there. You're a coach there. You're trying to sell that product. And they're right? I mean, certainly I am biased when it comes to it. But if you've ever visited Oxford, Mississippi, I don't know anyone that's ever walked away from Oxford, Mississippi and Ole Miss and gone, it's kind of average. I mean, everybody that comes to visit loves it. It's a cool place to be. It's a cool college town. So we're fortunate in that regard, and that fits into the mold of what you said. But normally when it comes down to if it's us and somebody else, normally we're on the good side of that. And these people come in, and especially I think it speaks to our success with the transfer portal that these guys went through the recruiting process the first time around. Maybe they fell for some bells and whistles and smoke and mirrors deal that one of these other coaches tried to sell or a school tried to sell, which, hey, more power to them. But when it comes time to the nuts and bolts of, a coach, believing in their best interests and all the things that we try to sell, and we try to be good people, and that combined with player development and then Oxford, Mississippi, it's easier for these guys to see if they happen to go around the second time in this recruiting process.
How about having the football team? Lane Kiffin, they're a top team. Baseball team wins the national championship. The women's team, I think the other sports being successful. You've had two guys now, Braden Thornberry, individual champion, Jackson Super, both got their tour cards. Those are all factors that kids look at, and I think those other sports, other coaches, they want to be part of that. I mean, if nobody knew who the U was until the football team won. It was a great, fantastic school,
Exactly.
But then the football team started winning and money started piling in, and they became the U. And I think that's a big factor of it. And I think those other – the coaches always say that. The other teams having success makes that experience so much better, don't you think?
I completely agree, and again, I'm saying this in a positive way, but you look at the run that a lot of these teams go on, and you look what Alabama did, and when Nick Saban's there, that helped all of their sports. I mean, to say that wasn't a factor, and we all get it. Like, should it be? No, it shouldn't. Right? I mean, you should pick the school because you believe in the golf coach and what that golf program, what they're doing. But if you can do that and you have a good football team, going, and all the other pieces fit in there, then man, they feed off each other. And Brennan Webb at Tennessee. I mean, Tennessee's on a little bit of a run right now too in their other sports, and certainly I think he'd be the first person to tell you that's helped him recruit at an even higher level. So no, I think all of those things combined, they certainly don't hurt.
Yeah, there's no question. But I forgot the basketball team's good too. Everything's good. And I think that's part of it. But it's a big part of it. It's like, hey, what are we going to do tonight? Oh, we're going to go to a ball game. And I think, and they travel and they work so hard. And that's the thing I always tell people. They're talking about, because I cover college golf. I love it. It's the future. PJ Tour years, fantastic kids getting these opportunities. But, I mean, these kids, you still have to be a college kid. You still got to go enjoy that. I mean, you're going to have a job the rest of your life, whether it's professional golf or whatever you end up doing. So to experience that and have that positive experience is a big part of it. And you're right, Oxford's a cool town. It's fun. It's a perfect college town. People enjoy it. And like you said, the team's been successful. What's up for the rest of the spring? Because I know you got to go pick up your son, and I got to get those Trolio boys on the podcast. But what's up for the rest of the spring?
I'd say the last thing I'll say on that, and it feeds into it, you look at why is the SEC so good in golf? And you look at me, 4 of the top 5 teams in the country right now. You got, however many, you can go down and look at the rankings. And it's everything you just said. It's just all of these towns, in the SEC are really cool. And some of them are different, right? I mean, you have Vanderbilt, that's a different deal than Oxford, Mississippi, but it's really, really cool. And there's a lot of money flowing through it, right? Certainly with the athletic programs, but they're all just great places. So I think that's feeds into your point.
You missed the most important part, my man. It just means more.
It just means
I say it every time. They get so mad at me on Golf Central or College Central when I say it, and they know I'm going to say it at some point.
Listen, Jim, we didn't make up the slogan.
I didn't. I just repeat it. All right, tell me about the spring. I interrupted you.
We leave for Cabo in just under 2 weeks, and then we do Palma Valley, which one of the strongest fields in college golf as well. So those 2 back-to-back. We'll know where we are, right? And I think we'll be able to figure out where we stack up and some things we need to work on. Both great golf courses. Then we go to Vandy's tournament, and then Old Waverly, and then it's postseason. SEC championship is here, so we're rocking and rolling. We're going to try to get on some different style golf courses. That's what we're looking to do this time of year. Some different greens. That's part of the point of getting out to California. Ultimately, we want to end our season there and holding a trophy. So we want to get on some Poana this spring, and even though that's not a comfortable surface for us, we need to get comfortable on it if we're going to do something that means anything in the end. So I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I like our squad.
You should. You should love your squad. I know they love you, but I appreciate you being with us. It just means more, my man. Have fun. I'll see you out in California at the NCAAs.
You're the man. Thanks, Jimmy.
Well, we just got off the phone with Coach Malloy, and now I've got the Collins Trolio. Collins, this is, you can do what you say what you want. This is a freedom, but welcome to the podcast. First time we've had you on. I can't believe it's taken this long to get you on.
Glad to be on. I mean, I've listened to a lot of episodes.
Well,
it's nice to probably be on here.
I know you. Between your dad and your brother, you're the best one. And your mom. You're like your mom on that. Very good communicator. So, but
that's right.
They're not here to defend themselves. But Cohen gets on later tonight. We'll have him on. But I just saw something. No, Valentine's Day, and you're on.
It is.
You're on the gram. What the heck?
That is. I don't know what they put a lot of content out about me and stuff. It's kind of funny. It catches me off guard, but I just embrace it.
Yeah, well, you're that. That's the thing. And we'll talk about you growing up, and you grew up in West Point, a small little town, but you got to play some great, Old Waverly, Mossy Oak. You got your brother. So many good kids growing up with. What was that like growing up in West Point? Your dad's your instructor. That'd be kind of a cool experience for you.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like it plays. I mean, when I think of growing up in West Point, 90% of it is all my experiences out there at Old Waverly with my dad and all of his other students like Wells and Jacob and Hunter and Cohen.
And your team was, your high school team. Did y'all ever lose a match? I don't know if you did. It's been years.
Time. My 6th grade to 12th grade, I think we lost 2 tournaments to like Prep and J my 6th grade year, and after that, I think we were undefeated.
That's insane.
Literally didn't lose a tournament.
That says a lot.
Not a state championship.
That says a lot. So you won 4 state championships when you were on the teams. You've won so many. Your dad did. Yeah. It's just done such a great job there. But what was it like growing up? Of course, you had your big brother, and we probably should have my brother on because he would tell you all the bad things I did. But your dad was your instructor. He's your dad, and he's your instructor. What were the challenges there? Because I know sometimes it could be tough to differentiate. Your dad's so good at it, but what were some of the challenges, and what are some of the positives having your dad as your instructor and your dad?
Well, the challenges were that like I was overly comfortable with him to the point where obviously like I respect him as my dad, but it took me longer to respect him as a coach just because it's almost sometimes bothering in a sense of like he knows exactly what to do and when to do it and how to do it. But it's just so hard when you're that young to be like, oh, my dad, this is his profession. I'm going to fully buy in. So obviously it took me a while to just be like, I trust 100% what he's doing, what to do it. And then obviously when I started doing that, I started playing good golf. But it took me like a while, like longer than Cohen for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I'm on board. I'm on board.
Yeah, it takes a while. And there's always the story that you were a little kid. I don't even know how old you were. We were out at the Mississippi State course, and your dad, Mary Langdon, my oldest, and we're out there playing, and you wanted to be part of it, and your dad pushed you over, and he said you didn't have a vertebrae. He was always picking on you because you were the little brother and all that stuff. And we always had some good times together. But you're right, it took you a little while. I think it does everything. I think it took my brother the same to kind of buy into what my dad was teaching. And once you bought in, you were golden. You knew he knew what he was doing. That's just so hard. And some of our listeners, they have their dad as their instructor, and it's tough to differ. All right, is dad lecturing me, or is he teaching me as an instructor?
Exactly.
And I think that's some of the challenges, but it's also why your dad is a top 100 teacher in the country and one of the bright minds, and you had that great facility. You had Wells Williams, who's won twice at Vandy. Jacob Blanton's on the team with you, your brother. All those great kids playing up, but you played other sports, and you played basketball, and you were really good at it. Your brother played for a while, but you were really good at it. What impact did that have? How much did it help when you're playing college golf as far as the team atmosphere and maybe even help your golf game? What was it like to be able to play those other sports and play golf as well?
Yeah, I mean, I would always look forward to basketball season in high school, especially when I started getting good. And, just putting golf to the side from October to February, realistically, it didn't help my skill of as a golfer, but then me being able to be as good as I was while playing multiple sports was really cool. And then coming to Ole Miss and not having to play basketball anymore and realizing how good I have gotten over the span of however many months that I usually would miss out on, made a huge difference and made me climb faster than I would have if I would have always just been overly stimulated with my golf game.
Well, you were able to focus then on that. I think it was good for you to learn and just spread yourself out and kind of give yourself some time off from golf. What's the most points you ever scored in a game?
Most ever. 52.
Wow, did you really?
Most ever.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I 30 in the first half on maybe senior night or something.
Did you ever play? Okay, when you're scoring 52, did you play any defense? Because I had to play defense. Did you play any defense?
Yeah, we played the first half of full court press, and I just had a lot of steals and layup after layup, and then hit a few threes, and got to 30 at half, and I was like, Coach, you got to keep me in. I got to get that 50.
How many threes? Pop a few threes while you're doing it?
Yeah, I had 8 threes.
Oh my gosh! Maybe Coach needs to bring you in there for the Rebs and come in there off the bench. That'd be kind of fun.
I don't know about that. But yeah.
But you're also into music, which is kind of fun. Who's your favorite artist? What kind of music do you like?
Favorite artist? Well, I listen to all kinds of music. I've always been a big Justin Bieber fan.
That's right.
Just because I think he's so talented. He can do anything. Plays good music. He has a good style, and he's been around for forever. That's not my favorite style music, but I think he's awesome. And then I obviously listen to rock music and stuff, the stuff my dad grew up.
Well, you had to listen to that when he's teaching. You had to listen to that. But what would be your walk-up song if you had one?
A walkout song.
What would it be?
That's a good one.
Got to be something.
For golf?
Anything. Just if say you're playing in the Zurich Classic, you and Cohen get you both get on tour, you get to play in the Zurich Classic together. What would be your walkout song to come up there to the first tee? What would it be? Got to be something fast.
Oh, I would go Whatever You Like by T.I.
Oh, okay. Which I don't know anything about that, but that sounds like a good one. That's showing my age gap. You probably enjoyed the Super Bowl halftime show, which I didn't know anything about that. But no, that's cool. I mean, it is. I think for me, mine was Eye of the Tiger. It just kind of kept me fired up.
That's a good one.
I was sitting. We had to play 36 the last day of the state am, and I remember sitting in the car in Indiana. It's 95 degrees, and I just blowing the Eye of the Tiger song before I go back out for that second 18. It just got me fired up. That
crazy what it can do to you.
Isn't it weird how music can?
It's weird.
Yep.
I don't know if it does that to everybody, but it gives you like you feel like Rocky Balboa, literally, while you're listening to that song. You can, visualize stuff easier. You can see yourself, succeeding, or I can at least, when you have that one song or whatever.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, that's in golf, the mind is so much more powerful than we use it sometimes. And I think, like you said, you've gotten better. You always had the physical skills. It's the mental side. Have you done anything working on the mental side that's helped, improve your game as well?
Yeah, definitely. Taking the outcome out of it is a big thing, especially when you're in college trying to almost prove yourself in a way, which you have to do. But that's really not what it's about,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Don't get result oriented.
And if you just do your best, that sounds cliche, but if you do your best, then you should not be result oriented, even though it's only result. Everybody only looks at the leaderboard.
Mm-hmm.
But not worrying about that and going out there and being and knowing your game. And you have to, I believe this, you have to accept yourself before you just have a crazy amount of confidence.
Correct.
And that's been the biggest change from last year to this year is accepting my golf game. And that's when the confidence comes. Before then, you can't have confidence if you don't accept the way you play the game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you got to be yourself. You got to play. Yeah, you got to play it the way you play it. I mean, you can't play it
exactly.
Cohen always, he would catch a bunch of grief about saying, I'm going to play Cohen Trolio golf. Well, he didn't mean it in a cocky way. He meant that's how he plays, the style he plays. I mean, everybody plays almost to their personality sometimes.
You have to.
You're kind of, you are competitive as they can be. You wouldn't score 52 points and play as good a golf as you didn't, but you're a little more free-spirited. And I think for anyone to be successful, you got to play with freedom. And I think once we figure it out, that's like you said, you got to accept yourself. And your dad always pushes and process. But it's so true. Every great athlete will tell you that. It's about the process. Coach Malloy just said, we get caught up in results, but that's not, control what we can control. Go out there and give it all you can. So when you're done, you didn't say, well, man, I wish I would have done this. I think if you can go.
That's all you can do.
Exactly. I think that's a big part of it. But you said your freshman year, you got to Ole Miss. What's your favorite part about Ole Miss? I mean, what are some of the things you do? I mean, you go to any of the football games, the football team's good, basketball's good, baseball's great. So many things to do. What's some of the favorite things you guys get to do when you have, which is very few times other than golf?
Our team is just, they're the only people I hang out with. We're all super close. We literally, do everything pretty much as a group.
Mm-hmm.
But we hang out pretty much every night, every day, go get dinner. We'll go play. We'll randomly go to the rec and shoot basketball and stuff, go hang out, go to the square. But the team chemistry, I never thought it'd be a big deal, because golf's such an individual sport. But knowing everybody on your team super well and know how they compete really actually does help. That's how we got to where we are. Obviously, everybody's skilled on the team, but you got to be really a tight bunch to achieve really cool things.
Yeah, that's why you're number one. I think that's a big part of it. You're on the number one team. You're trying to break into that starting five lineup. 5 great players. You're a great player. What's it like being on a team that's number one in the country? You probably dream about that as a kid, and now it's a realization. It's happening. And on top of that, we're going to get to that in a second. You got your brother there for this year, so that's got to be cool.
Yeah, we didn't really think about it until obviously the ranking came out, and we're like, oh, we're number one. But like I said, you're so far out of what everybody else's opinion is, which that might come off in the wrong way, but people are like, oh, you are the number one team in the country. That's awesome. You're like, yeah. Honestly, don't even know how that happened. Obviously, we played really good in the fall, but you just got to keep it in cruise control. I think keeping it new every day and being today, let's get better. Today, let's get better, is one of the reasons we have achieved what we have so far.
Yeah, it's about perspective. I think you got to take the pressure off, the expectations. It's back to being playing free, and I think that's what you basically described as playing free. You're not worried about,
Exactly.
hey, we're number one, great, that's a bonus, but we got work to do. We have a whole spring ahead of us. We just finished second at Puerto Rico. I think that's a big part of what. So we were talking before we came on. I mean, the team was sick coming in there. 33 under. I told Malloy, y'all are averaging almost 25 under a tournament. The scores y'all are shooting it's insane how good college golf is right now. I mean, and that makes, you got to work harder to keep up, don't you?
Oh, yes. I mean, you don't have an option.
Yeah, you don't have an option. That's true.
You do not have an option in the best way possible.
I think you mentioned that, the team chemistry. I think that comes natural, and you hang out, you enjoy each other. I think that's what Cohen, on the podcast he did with Brentley Romine, and in the interview with him, he mentioned, I knew the guys, and I came in and I felt welcomed, because he would have been the new guy. I mean, kind of like you as your freshman. I mean, he felt welcomed, and you can tell when teams genuinely like each other. Sure, you want to beat each other's heads in and brains out, but you genuinely like each other. And I think that's a big part of it. Now, you've got your brother there. Y'all are almost like total opposites the way you approach it and everything. How competitive were you guys as kids growing up? I mean, I know because I witnessed it, but what was it like growing up with that older brother, and now you get to be on the team again with him as you did in high school? What was that like growing up and now on the team together in college?
Yeah, it's awesome. It was always super competitive, especially like when I outgrew him in a sense. And when I could start like consistently, playing against him and beating him and go back and forth. But when I knew exactly, one thing about Cohen is whenever he got here, I didn't really say much like about him, obviously, because everybody was like, you're the exact same, because in passing, like, we might seem like that. And then when he gets here or whatever, it's funny to see how everybody falls, like, knows now, like, they were actually, like, a lot different in, like, our own ways. So it's cool to see that. And then I kind of could have predicted exactly how Cohen was going to come in here and, like, how hard he worked. Like, I've still to this day, I've not met somebody who works harder, like, even pro golfers.
Yeah, he does.
Extremely hard and does things his way and doesn't, like, stray away from it at all.
Yeah, and it's
almost an advantage to have Cohen on the team. And this was something I was saying about the team being so close, is when you get super close with, like, your friends, like, everybody almost becomes your brother in a sense, and that makes it easier to call people out. Because you're going to call out, Cohen's called me out, I'll call him out. When you're that close, like, you are comfortable with saying, like, hey, you need to work on this, or, hey, don't do that. That's not going to cut it. And that's how it goes back to the team chemistry thing. I mean, that's how you form, everybody gets better.
Yeah, you're holding each other accountable. I mean, football, every team that does that, for sure. I mean, I was talking to David Toms, and he was talking about a story when he was at LSU playing. There were two guys fighting for that number 5 spot, and they were roommates. And the other one beat the other one, and he came back, and he had a line drawn down the middle of the room. And he told him not to cross the line. And the guy that qualified goes, hey, I got to go to the bathroom. He goes, well, you have to go somewhere else because you're not crossing the line. And it is hard because you are close. You can call each other out. But when you're qualifying, you got to beat them. And I think that's the hardest part. But I think it pushes you to become better. And I think that's a positive to have great players like that on the team. I think that's a big part of it. I think that's why you've been successful so far.
It does.
What would you say some of your strengths are? Where have you improved the most, say, from last year to this year? It's easy to go back from junior golf, but from last year to this year, because you've gotten to play a bunch and you've had a really good finish in the individual tournament there a couple of weeks ago. You played great there. What's the biggest thing that's changed with you in improvement?
I would say my golf game my skills have obviously gotten better, as they naturally will in college. But, man, like, acceptance is, like, the biggest thing, I think, for me, because you can't fit into a mold, you gotta build your own. And it took me a while to do that. And then once I started, like, stop comparing yourself. Like, I'm going to play this way. I'm not going to try to swing it like this. And when you do that, I started, like, naturally playing better, and you don't even realize it. It's such, like, a slow process.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to even, and skill-wise, like, I didn't have the best putting, I guess, over the past couple months, and then I was, like, trying to putt like I've never putted before. You know, trying to get all super square to dress, and I had a lot of tension in my putting.
Mm-hmm. What'd you do to relieve the tension in there? What'd you do? What was the change you made to get rid of the tension?
Started seeing putts more like I did when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know, not worrying about, like my putting, I'm going to set up a little open with a hook stroke.
Yeah.
But that's how I'm going to hit the most solid putts consistently. And I'm going to see the putt, and I don't think in straight lines. So I can't sit over a mirror with a straight putt and hit 100 of them. That makes me worse.
Yeah, because people see things in curves. Some people think, like my wife Sissy, we know, 12-time state am champ. She's seeing things in straight lines. So she putts over a point. I see things in curve, probably similar to you. But what you're saying reminds me of back to that basketball. Are you thinking about where your hands are when you're shooting that three to score your 52nd point? No, you're reacting. And I think that's one of the things we try to do. And people don't think golf's a reaction sport because the ball's sitting there. But technically it is. You want to get to that mindset that it's a reacting sport. And I think that's the challenge.
Some of my best rounds, which is crazy, but, like, I would go in uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just, after the round, I'd be like, I really don't know how I just shot 5 or 6 under with the way I was hitting it before. And then I would just be like, I accepted that I wasn't hitting it well and went out there and just was an athlete and reacted instead of acted.
What Tiger Woods used to say, I won with my B game, won with my C game.
Right.
That's what he's saying. I mean, if he had his A game, there wasn't anybody coming close to him. But he could turn a 73 into a 69 better than anybody alive. But where some people take a 69 turn into 73. And I think when you get that same mindset as Tiger Woods, you're in good shape. But what's a typical day in the life of Cohen Trolio? School, then going to practice, all those things. What's a typical? You got a great facility. What's a typical day like for you as an Ole Miss golfer?
Ole Miss golfer. So we have workouts.
Yeah.
So I do a workout day, obviously. So we'll wake up. We have workouts at 8:00. We'll run through the workouts, which it's very competitive. I mean, we have competitions that we do. We split up in the 2 groups and competitions, and it gets, like, actually heated. Like, it's legit.
Really?
Yeah, it's legit. We compete in the weight room. And then after that, I go straight to mentoring and tutoring, which is basically I sit down and we get what I have to do for the week, and we get all that laid out. And then I do my tutoring sessions, which all that's probably like 2 hours, I would say. And straight from that to team practice, which, again, we're competing on the short course. Malloy will set up like a short game. Usually it's all inside of 150 yards. So it's all either wedges, chipping, or putting. And we went through that, and there's not like a time stamp on that. They could take however many hours to do it, depending on how you're doing that day. But it's a full competition there. There's always like a prize that you get at the end, whether it's like lost pizza or something like that for top 2 finishers.
Man, I'd be winning every one of those competitions for food.
You think that?
I would at least try.
I'm like, let's go.
You don't get to be my size if you don't eat, You might beat me for money, but you ain't going to beat me for food. And that's one thing I didn't take offense to it, but I was a little disturbed in your brother's podcast that he was only going to let me play a tee up and only give me shots on the par 5. I mean, come on, you would be nicer to me than that, wouldn't you? Or you probably just as tough on me.
No, I'd be nicer to you.
Yeah, I figured so. You let me play 2 tees up and still only give me a shot.
Definitely. Well, like you could still pop out, and you never know. You could pop out and shoot a 63. Like nobody knows.
Well, you know,
so, your heart's still like you've got to lock in when you play against you.
You do.
I think so.
You do. I'm going to fight you till the bitter end, but I'm getting closer to shooting my age.
True.
I'm going to be 64. I got to keep moving some tees up so I can shoot my age. That'd be kind of fun.
And you do a good job of when you're down, you start talking, which is great.
Me?
Yeah.
No, that's my number one weapon is my lip wedge. My number one weapon now is my lip wedge. Your number one weapon is your skills and your mental approach. But well, you're looking forward to the spring. What lies ahead for you? I know we talked to Malloy. You got some bunch of big tournaments coming up. What's maybe your goals or some of the things you want to accomplish this spring?
Yeah, so we got Cabo next. So us 6 are headed to that one. And for me, it's just like, I know I'm playing good golf right now. Mm-hmm. And I don't have to go out and tell people that. Like, I'm just ready to play.
Yeah.
How
hard is it to knowing that? I mean, but I think it keeps you grinding.
100%.
But it's got to be hard 100%. For you because you want to be playing. And hey, you're on the number 1 team. It's not like you're playing on the number 100 team. That's the challenge part.
Right.
That's one of the beauties of it, for sure.
Yeah, you just gotta. I'm like obviously looking forward to playing. Like I'm going to Cabo, and I just have to, as an individual, like you just have to stay like involved in what you're doing fully, and play your role.
Is there different pressure playing as an individual versus, say, one of the starting 5 or the 5 scores that count? Is there a different type of pressure, a different approach?
It is. I mean, it is not as far as like when you're on the golf course playing, but it is different because it's kind of like you're playing, you see like your success rate. I mean, you feel like, like I'm playing really good right now, but every opportunity you can think of it as like, I might not get this opportunity again, which I used to do. And now I'm like, back to the acceptance thing, like, I'm here to play. Like, I'm here to compete as if I would do any other day.
Yeah, I think it'll make you better in the long run. I really do. I know it's
definitely.
Hard. I think it'd be so much fun to be playing for such a good team. That would be awesome. A blast.
And I'm looking down, for even in the future, like
sure.
Jacob and the guys even behind me, because I'm the youngest one that's like on the road right now.
And you got your brother, and you'll have your brother another year too.
In my mind, yeah, exactly. And in my mind, like it's motivating for me to be like, I've got, I'm going to be a leader on this team as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think you look at these quarterbacks that played backup, and all of a sudden they get their shot and they just shine and they just
exactly.
do so good. I think that's the mentality you have to take. One last thing before I let you go. Coach Malloy, how would you describe Coach Malloy? Any way you want. We love him, but how would you describe the way he coaches? How would you describe him? I always like to ask coaches how would they want their kids to describe him, but how would you describe him?
He does such a good job of separating the preparation and practice to the tournament, which is something that is great because at home, like, he expects you to be like a full-grown man, or obviously on the road too, and get all your, hold yourself accountable. And they do a really good job preparing us for, pressure situations and stuff like that, as far as, trying to get in our head and doing that. But then on the road, it's all smiles. I would say, just from being around college coaches, Malloy definitely has the best overall attitude. He's very positive on the road. And he's always smiling on the golf course, which is crazy.
That's what I keep hearing. I mean, I know that I see him, but that's what a lot of his players say.
It's great too, because you see a lot of coaches, and I'm not saying this to judge other coaches. Every program has their way of being successful, but there's a lot of coaches that kind of frown around if somebody's not doing as good or their team is playing as good. But Malloy's never like that. He's just come on, get after it. He's always given positive feedback. Not like he's never like, what was that? Or
Yeah,
like
because sometimes coaches get into the result and it becomes a reflection of them, and it's not about the kids. I think the successful ones, like Chris, are the ones that it's about the kids first. And he would tell you that.
Definitely.
And his job is to mold young men, and he's doing a great job of that. I think it's a great way of describing. I've heard that too, that he's, and I think that's the difference is, he's prepared you at home. He's tough on you at home, and he's going to be tough on you. But when he gets to the road, that allows you to play with freedom, doesn't it? When you got a guy over there smiling
100%.
and behind you, I think.
Definitely. And he's very like energetic. Energy's great, and that's
yeah.
what our team is. We have a high energy team, like a lot of personality, and keeping all the BS out of it.
Yep.
Is our best. Is our biggest weapon. That's our biggest weapon. I mean, we hold each other accountable. Malloy does a great job, but he has like the best attitude in the world.
He does, and your attitude's good too. And I think
college golf,
and that's going to help you too with your attitude. I think that's when you look at people, you look at it as an opportunity. Like you said, you're accepting who you are. And I think when you hold yourself to who you are, then you're fine. Right. It's when you fake it and lie about who you are. And you're not true to yourself is when you're not as successful. But I wish you all the best. Appreciate you being on. I'm going to get your brother on here in a little bit. He's working with Uncle Timmy on that short game. So going to get him on, and we'll finish it up. And then we appreciate you being with us, brother.
Good deal. Well, I appreciate you having me on.
Man, I love me some Cohen Trolio. What a great kid. That was fun to have him on. We're going to get Cohen on in a little bit. He's working with Timmy Overton, his uncle, on his short game. So when he gets done with that, we'll get him on and hear from him. We've had him on a couple times, so we're looking forward to having Cohen on there. Just two great kids. I've been watching them since they've been in diapers, but they're on that number one team of the Ole Miss Rebels. But we'll be back in a little bit, and we'll have Cohen Trolio on. Well, I've had a few minutes to kind of gather myself here, but let's give a little background on Cohen Trolio before we give him a shout. Grew up in West Point, Mississippi. His dad's VJ. Taught him, one of the top 100 instructors. We talked to Cohen's little brother, Collins, earlier. Cohen had a great junior amateur early on career. Part of the semifinals, as you remember, at Pinehurst, the 2020 USAM. Got all the way to the semifinals at 16 years old, one of the youngest to do it. Amazing run there. So it was really kind of cool to see him do that. And then 2021, he was a U.S. junior runner-up. He won the State Am, shot 19 under to win the Mississippi State Am. He's part of 4 straight titles with the state high school at Oak Hill Academy, the team that's just won everything. And went to LSU. Freshman year was all-freshman SEC. 11 events, 71.30 scoring average, great first year. Next year, not as good, 73.47, 10 events. Kind of had a little struggle there and only played twice, which would have been his junior year, and decided to redshirt and then transfer to Ole Miss, was where he is now. So really a great young man. Really, his golf IQ is off the charts, and I really look forward for everybody to get to know him again. He's been on the podcast before. I know we've talked to him, but it's going to be fun to hear from him again. All right, Cohen Trolio's joined us. Cohen, a lot of pressure on you now. We've had Coach Malloy, we've had Collins. We know how Collins likes to talk, and now we got you on. But appreciate you being back on with us. It's been a while since we had you on the podcast.
Yes, sir. It has been. It's been a minute.
And it's been a lot going on in your world.
That's right.
That's for sure. Yeah. But this season, I went over your bio earlier before we gave you a shout. But you've transferred to Ole Miss at Oxford, not far from home, and got your little brother on the team. What's it been like now that you've been in Oxford? Several months now, and this fall's gone through. Now you're starting spring season. What's it been like so far for you?
Yeah, it's been really good. They have welcomed me into Oxford and kind of the Ole Miss, I guess you could call it a community, extremely, extremely easy. And the team, everybody on the team, I already knew them a little bit once I got here, and then obviously I didn't know them like as well as I do now, but yeah, when I came in, they welcomed me with open arms as well. So it's honestly been rocking and rolling ever since I've been gotten in town.
And that's what Collins and Coach Malloy said. It's a tight-knit group, and you don't often get that, that everybody's buying in. And
No doubt.
And the chemistry's already there, and you were the part that, I don't know if it's the missing part, but you've added a great addition to them. You've had an unbelievable spring so far, or actually fall and spring. You just started the spring, but you've 3 top 5s, 4 top 10s, averaging 70.07, 5 events. You finished 3rd at the Hamptons. The weather was crazy up there, wasn't that Maidstone? Wasn't the weather insane?
Nuts. Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, it was crazy. It's a really, really cool golf course, though. When we were up there, we played Sabonic,
wow,
which I guess it's right next to National.
Yep.
So like right next door, and so we played that golf course, and that was a hike. And then it's a newer golf course for like around that area, but it was awesome. But it was a really long, big golf course. So then we got to Maidstone, and it's the complete opposite. I think it was made, I might be wrong, like 18 something. I mean, It was a long time ago, and it's kind of like the front nine's like almost like a Canton Country Club, and then you get to the back nine, and it looks like you're in Scotland. It's the craziest thing in the world.
Yeah, well, how different is that's a big difference. You know, growing up in Mississippi, of course, you played Pinehurst, you played a bunch of cool places. What's that like to get up there on Long Island and play courses like that? Because that's a great place to be able to play a college event. For sure.
No doubt. Yeah, I've like playing Amberstuff during the summer, like I kind of get some experience on some different grasses up north, but I'd never played on like a Long Island on that sort of like on the ocean over there. So it was a cool experience. Obviously extremely pure grass, like some of the best bent grass. It was like growing up in Mississippi, it was all soft bent grass. There it's like it's firm bent grass, so it's honestly really cool to play. And I mean, during those like months where they can play golf there, it's about as pure as I've ever played on.
Yeah, it's amazing to see different parts of the world, the different grasses. Like I said, bent. Everybody down here thought, we have bent greens. Well, no, they're not bent greens.
No, not compared to you. You're exactly right.
It's and I think that's what you see in college. Of course, you're playing the amateur, circuit some in the summertime. But so, you were mentioning going all over the country and you're playing, and I know the coaches go to different regionals so you can get used to different grasses. What's it like? Because you're kind of doing it on the fly. You get one practice round, and you're having to adjust, say, Poana on the greens, or Bermuda, like the back of your hand. Now you got bent. What's it like to try to make that adjustment quickly in maybe one, maybe even 2 practice rounds?
For sure. At Ole Miss, we go over a little Google Earth of the golf course with the yardage book that we're playing, right? So Coach Malloy, I guess transferring in, you have a little bit of a different look, because most of the schools, or at least the 2 that I've been to, you kind of play the same schedule, right?
Right.
So like they might add 1 or 2 in, but most of the time the coaches know exactly. They've been to the golf courses that we're going to, so they have an idea, but maybe not everyone on the team are returners, or might be some transfers. So you might be coming in and not knowing. But at Ole Miss, we go over the Google Earth of the golf course, so we know the layout. And then, so, when you're walking a golf course in a practice round, you're marking the yardage book, right? So once we get to the golf course, though, we already kind of have the major things marked down, so we can spend more time seeing putts, seeing the way the green speed, seeing how much the chip rolls out. So we kind of knock out all the things that we can knock out before we get to the event. Here at Ole Miss, and then once we're there, we can kind of focus on those little things, because it is a lot in one day. If you have 0 things marked down on your yardage book, then you're having to get the speed of green,
right?
Then you're having to see how a pitch shot reacts around the green. So it's kind of it's a lot, I guess.
Well, Mike Heinen showed me that years ago, that if he go do a Monday qualifier, or we go to a course. We played the tour, we knew those courses, but say you go to a Corn Ferry Tour event, he would get on Google Earth, and he would do that. He would say, all right, he would make his own yardage book. So at least he had somewhat of an idea. Even if he didn't get a practice round in, he would have a clue of what things to possibly look at. It's still nothing like being, but I think I think we're a lot of players, and you've learned this now. This is your junior year, your fourth. Technically, your fourth. You didn't play any last year, but and you've played. You can't worry about how you're hitting it in a practice round. Your job is to learn the golf course. Is that one thing that Coach Malloy really puts emphasis on? Is get to know the golf course. We'll worry about how you're hitting it after we're done playing the practice round.
Yes, sir, 100%. And Coach Malloy does a really cool job of explaining, because you have to be careful when you're explaining to a bunch of influential kids. Like, when you don't have your best stuff, you still have to be able to score the ball, because there's a way of explaining that almost could make a team not ever think they're going to have their best stuff ever in their life, right? And so it can kind of pull a little bit of confidence out of a kid. But Coach Malloy kind of just frames it as look, man, score the golf ball. We got to get really, really good at scoring the golf ball. There's not a specific way, but you got to get the ball in the hole as fast as possible. And that's a different way of looking at it, for me at least, than you're not ever going to have your best stuff, so you need to figure it out, rather than, I know it's kind of confusing, but
no, he just said
someone being just score it. Some days you are going to have it and kill it, but some days it might not feel perfect, but you still got to get the ball in the hole. You know what I mean?
No, he said Puerto Rico was the perfect example. Y'all were sick as dogs going down there. And he said you didn't have your best stuff, but you figured a way. And I told him the way I looked at it is and you know this because your golf IQ's really high, and you've been very fortunate to have a dad that understood it and taught you well. I think it's like Tiger Woods could turn a 72 into a 68 or 9 better than anybody I've ever seen. Where in college you maybe turn a 70 into a 75, and I think that's what Malloy's talking about, and you're just talking about
100%. But it's like a and I haven't mastered that yet. I hope to later in life. Is you got really good at it, obviously at a point in your career, and it's almost you can't really do that mid round. You can't be yep, this is going to save me a shot. It's kind of just you maturing into a golfer that is really, really good and can do it. Because for a while there, I thought I heard that, and I thought that it was just a few decisions during the round that would do that. But it's really it's like a little puzzle that you're putting together throughout the round. But it's more the way you're it might not be one day of that. It might be over the course of 4 days. It could be how many ever shots. So I don't know. It's a real important thing in playing golf at a high level. And I didn't really understand it fully until I got to Ole Miss, and it kind of, at least I see a little bit more of that building in my game.
I heard you mention to Brentley Romine, they speak your language. What did you mean by that? That when you got to Ole Miss, the players in Malloy speak my language. What was what does that mean? You were all, obviously you're thinking on the same page, but what did you mean by that?
Coach Malloy is kind of a dig it out of the dirt kind of guy. Get it done. I don't get he. If you know my dad, or I would even compare it to you. The way that we go about the game is and it's a little bit. It's not a extremely technical, extremely it has to be done this way. It has to be done you know what I mean? And so when I got here, it was a very relaxed, but like I said, not relaxed and a comfortable. On the golf course, it is extremely relaxed. Everybody's focused, or especially Coach Malloy, because he's kind of leading the pack. It's extremely focused, but you can still let a smile out sometimes.
Yes, Collins described it. You were doing your work at home, very structured, and when you got to the tournament, Malloy puts on the smiley face, the supportive, and behind you, because you've done your work already. You've done the preparation, and now you're playing with a little. Don't you feel like you play with a little more freedom that way?
For sure, me, 100%. Now, I'm not speaking for everyone, but I know that I play way better when everything's relaxed and there's no worry or chaos going on in my brain. And so, like when we were growing up too, like Dad was always, a week out of an event, you're just playing golf, and then once you get there, like you're already prepared, so let's do it. And it's once you get step on the practice round or the event, like you're a stud.
Do you think sometimes, say when you're struggling, whether it was whatever, say your second year or any time you struggle, whoever, you kind of dwelled on the bad and not the good out of that, and I think that's what you're talking about. Once you get over the fact that you're not dwelling on how I played bad here, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, and you find the way to find the positives out of it, that's when you get that sense of peace. That's when you get that sense of calmness. And I think that's what you're kind of leaning for. And you have to,
yes, sir.
You have to go through those bad times in order to learn. Because I look at like Jordan Spieth or even Justin Thomas on tour, unbelievable players. And they had basic slumps because mentally they weren't, even Tiger Woods. I mean, everybody goes through it. It's how you overcome that and how you are able to learn from those situations and get better from it. You've obviously done that. I think Coach Malloy's been a big part of that.
He's been a crucial, I mean, he showed a lot.
A different way of looking at it, a different approach, and I think that's a positive. That's what, and he said we just have players that get along. We have great chemistry. You've got the background from your dad, but what's it like playing with having your brother on the team? I know we talked about that, and he and I talked about it. It's got to be pretty cool. You guys did it in high school.
Sure.
You guys are best buddies. But what's it like now playing at the college level on the team again?
Yeah, if anybody knows me and Collins, they know we're extremely close. And so, like, he's my best friend, and I'm not going to speak for him, but I would say I'm one of his best friends. And like being just in each other's presence makes it comfortable. I like it adds a little layer of comfort to the situation. Whether it be like at a golf tournament, you feeling uneasy, and you have somebody there that you're really comfortable with, and you can be like, "Hey, dude, I need some help."
Yeah, always someone to talk to, and always has your back, no matter what.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and I mean, as far as like the competition side of it, we've always, ever since, I don't know if it's something our parents did or just kind of our different personalities, but like, we've never been like out for each other's throats, in anything really. Like, obviously when we're playing each other, we're trying to beat each other, but it's not some like unhealthy sort of like competition. And
sure, no, that's the difficult part, I think, at college golf is
exactly.
you're trying to beat your brother or one of your best friends, and someone's going to have to lose. But in the long run, it's about the team, and I think that's why. And you played basketball, Collins did. Of course, I didn't know Collins scored 52 points. That's unbelievable. Yeah. But I asked him if he played any defense, and he said he did, but I don't know about that.
Yeah, that's not true. No,
but I think but playing those other sports, being around teams, I think you learn when you go to college golf, instead of like some of the kids just focus completely on golf, they get to the team aspect and they struggle with it. I think that's a tough part, but your team's number one in the country. How cool is that? What's it been like to be? I know Colin said he didn't even realize it till it happened, and you're not focused on that. But that's got to be pretty cool to be part of that.
Yeah, it's really cool. And when you're here, like when I was here before the season started, like the scores were low, and everybody on the team is really solid. And then you go out there to the first few events and play really solid golf. And on paper, I knew we were going to be really good, right? When you look at a team on paper and you see the guys and their names and what they've accomplished, everyone on the team here has done something pretty cool in the past. But like you said, the future's kind of unknown, right? So when after like being here, it's a bunch of good really good players.
It reminds me
different.
It reminds me of my team that I had in college. They were good players, and most of them for in-state, but they weren't like the blue chip number one player in the country that, all that and everything. There weren't, the egos got dropped to the side. I think it reminds me of my team that won the SEC in 1980. We had a common bond. We had a common goal. And I think that's why you've been – you talk about low scores. Now you go to UT, where, of course, I went to school, and you shoot 21 under as a team. You go to Valero, and you shoot 24 under. Y'all go to the Hamptons in some horrible weather, 26 under. Fallen Oak, 20 under. Last week at Puerto Rico, 33 under. Averaging 24.8 under a tournament. It's like 8 under. Those scores are unbelievable. College golf, even in the last 3 years you've been there, it's amazing how low the scores are and how good these guys are. What do you think's been part of the factors of why they've gotten so good and there's so many great players?
Yes, sir. That's a good question. I think that the golf courses and the tournaments that we've been playing over, I guess, even since when you've played, have constantly gotten better and better, and there's been more people care about amateur golf and want to see guys succeed out of college at the next level. And I think that when all of this, the PGA Tour U stuff started, that there were really good players before that, but once that kind of started, it made people recognize it a little bit more, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
it gives the kid opportunity to go out there and show. Like Luke Clanton's killing it. Nick Dunlap, Gordon Sargent's done it. When you go out, it gives a kid an opportunity to go play in Puerto Rico. Like Jackson Van Paris went and played Puerto Rico and finished sixth, I think. You know what I mean? And it's whoa, I didn't. That's wild,
well,
right?
I'm
just saying him, but Luke Clanton's been killing it as well.
Well, no, he's actually played better in tour events than he has in college. But I think there's a couple things. I think the golf courses are in better shape. You're playing better golf courses. Y'all have a lot more information. You're not scared of the information. And like you said, you're getting opportunities to play in tour events. We never dreamed of that.
Exactly. And I think that's just given a little bit more obviously guys now have high-level teams around them who are pretty much, I would say, just about everyone playing at a high level has a good, solid team. I mean, full game guy, short game guy, all the maybe a workout guy, and so they're kind of getting a lot of on-hand work, and then they're being able to go out there and kind of be not a complete tour player before they play, but they have a little bit of that in them. And so when they go on the PGA Tour, it's not a huge shock, if that makes sense.
No, it does. I think you're right. They're not shy. They're playing the NCAAs in front of cameras. They're playing college event in front of cameras. I think they're used to that. So I know y'all go to Cabo next. Some people set goals. I think you mentioned setting goals. What are you hoping to accomplish this spring? Of course, you got another year and some good young players coming up. But what are you looking forward to in the spring coming up?
I definitely think that making a huge run at the national championship, SEC championship, winning a regional, checking all those boxes as a team would be really, really cool. And we have I guess 2 years to do that, and we have a really strong team this year, and we got a bunch of guys who want it really bad, and so I'm really looking forward just to seeing what we can do from here on out.
There's something you said in that podcast, and you and I are going to discuss this. And Collins has already, changed. He's already going to help me out. But you mentioned that you're going to let me play a tee up, and you're going to only give me shots on the par fives. I mean, come on, bro. I'll go be 64 years old. And then Collins said, yeah, but you can shoot your age. And I said, that's if I move another tee up. Is this negotiable, or are we just going to have to go and see how bad you beat me, or how are we going to work this one out?
You're definitely not getting one on a par 3. that you can hit on the green 2-putt, and that's not right. That's not happening. I mean, I guess we could maybe negotiate two of the longer par 4s that you got to hit above I don't know though. Shaq's big toe and you have a special bond.
So you're saying we'll go ahead. We'll go ahead and play it the way you want it, and then whenever an adjustment, maybe you don't give me shots, you keep letting me move up, and eventually I'll be on the very, very forward tees, and then I've got a chance.
That's right. You might be in the fairway at the end.
I may be teeing it off in the fairway like Tommy Morgan and Sissy do when they play Mossy Oak. So that'll be fun. But, buddy, I appreciate you being on. It was fun having you and Coach Malloy and Collins on. Your dad's taking a new job down at Frederica. I know you all been down there. It's a cool place. I'm looking forward. I'm actually going to go see him in a couple of weeks and go down there. But I've got to get my game in shape. I got to. You guys work out. I don't know if I can do that, but I'm going to have to do something if I'm going to compete against you in college.
I don't know though. Tee up, yeah. I would start working out. There's no point in all that. You got a bunch of grandkids running around.
Exactly.
There's no point in figuring working out.
All right, bud. Well, we appreciate it, and good luck this spring. And I know you're all going to kill it.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
Well, that was fun. I can't believe he's not going to either let me move up to proper tees. But it's fun playing against those kids. I remember when they couldn't beat me, and then now I can't beat them. But maybe that's going to be my incentive to go out there. What's your incentive? Remember, whether it's life or golf, you have only one shot. Make it count. It's been a lot of fun talking to these guys. Number one team in the country with Coach Malloy, Cohen Trolio, and Cohen Trolio. Some great kids, great players. Look forward to see how they finish up the spring. Until next time, I'm Jim Gallagher, and we'll see you later.